has passed since we disembarked our vessels and stepped upon Archazia's island. Under the tutelage of the owl, we have mastered the ability to cast dual ink glimmers. Our days have been filled with studying story stars and knowledge scrolls, while critters endlessly abound at our feet. With this new adventure has come many new obstacles to challenge, and a new quest. And welcome back to another episode of the Ink Table Podcast, a Lorcana podcast where a group of fellow Illumineers gather around the metaphorical ink table to share their table talk with you. If you enjoy Lorcana, art, lore, comedic banter, a sense of community, or all things Disney, then you are in for a treat. So pull up a seat and join our hosts, Dylan Bailey and Preston McNair, and today's very special guest, Rebekah Quest.
I think you're muted, Preston.
Muted, Preston.
I look at me already.
So close.
So close. I was like, oh, I see the red light. But no, we so excited, folks. But welcome back to another episode of the Ink Table Podcast. Again, just like John mentioned in our new intros, which I love so much, we're going to pull up a seat at the ink table. But we went into the closet, found another seat real quick because we do have our first guest on the show. And I'm so happy that it is none other than Rebekah Quest. Some of you may know who she is, but Rebekah, for those who don't know, maybe haven't watched the DLC live streams, kind of, give a little bit about yourself, who you are, and kind of what you're doing in the Lorcana sphere here, if you will.
Sure. So I'm Rebekah Quest, and first of all, thank you so much for having me here at the Ink Table. Very excited to chat with you all. I am a Disney Lorcana player and fan, and I started an Instagram account, and I wanted to just create content that was accessible for everyone, no matter what their background was, whether they came from TCGs or Disney. And I have a lot of fun, a lot of laughs, and I grew that account and then got invited to be involved as part of the commentary team for the official Disney Lorcana challenges. So I've been fortunate enough to be a part of the team for all 6 of the North American challenges, as well as the North American championships. And it's just been a wild journey this last year. But the thing that I love most, besides playing with my son, which we'll talk about too, is just creating fun content on Instagram and connecting with other Illumineers. So I'm always happy to chat with folks. So yeah, thanks again for having me.
Yeah, we're so
Thank
excited.
you.
Yeah, no, thank you. Absolutely. And it's so fun because I remember back in like 2020, like late 2023, I'm like addicted to Instagram at this point, scrolling through. I'm like, oh, that's a Lorcana creator. And I was like, hold up a second. Like Lorcana's gotten to this point where we have creators, posting guides and just sharing their experiences. So that is just really awesome because it seems so full circle in a sense. And, seeing your content, I've dabbled with content creation years past, but seeing your content on Instagram, I was like, oh, I'm really enjoying my first TCG being Lorcana. I was like, let's break out the old tricks in a sense. And I think Dylan's kind of the same way. I think seeing your content and all the content creators therein has just kind of not a spiral, but almost like prompted a new wave of creators, not only legacy coming from other games, but first time as well. So
Yeah.
it's really
Definitely a big
cool.
inspiration on our end.
Oh, thank you so much. It's been really neat seeing people kind of take that leap. And I've had a few people here and there reach out to me to say something like that, like, oh, you inspired me to create my own Instagram account or podcast. I'm like, that's so great. Like, yes, if you are passionate about something and there's space for everyone in my mind. It's not about competition. Everyone has a unique voice and a unique perspective. And so it's really, really great to see new people, like you said, people coming from other spaces or becoming a content creator for the very first time. And I mean, what could be more fun than talking about Disney Lorcana in my mind?
tiny cardboard.
Yes.
But now that you are here, we are all 1 week into Archazia's after the release, and I'm sure we've all been having some fun. I think today is our actual first day of a league since any of this came out, because before this we just played sealed events. So out of the cards that we have played with a little bit, I think we're all going to do kind of a round table, and we're going to select one card, and we're just going to share information about that one card, why we think it's special, or what we really like about it and we find interesting. So I think, Preston, would you like to go first?
Yeah, sure. Let's do it. Then we'll go from there. But so full disclosure, since the sealed events, which again spoil me because I love it so much, I actually haven't really dealt with constructed. Like literally right before this, like I came in out back from outside and like our kitchen table's just all of our inventory and everything, and I'm like, oh, there's so many cards. So I have no idea what our first day of league is going to be like. But for me, it feels kind of cheap because it's a more rare card, but the Hero Hamada armor designer. If you've been listening to the show for a while, you know how much I love Blurple and my boy Merlin, which allows me to pick up my deck, which feels illegal, and search through the deck and then put something into my hand. And I think Ward is becoming like increasingly difficult to deal with. But I think this Hero Hamada card, it's still too early to tell. I think we've all seen the Tamatoa decks floating around. It's just crazy. But I think this Hero Hamada is going to unlock a new playstyle, more so around shifting and specifically Floodborne shifting, but without Bucky. You know, we won't talk about the elephant in the room. But I'm just really excited to have not only the Universal Shift Baymax, but also just a card that benefits all of the Floodboard characters with cards under them. It's just such unique wording. So I don't know. I might run something today with this, but I'm working on other decks. My mind keeps going back to this Baja Blast. Like, okay, like let's have some fun with some Floodborne shifts in a sense. I think it's too early to tell, you know, what it's going to be like, but I think I'm all for finding alternate play styles and alternate win styles, and I think Hero Hamada might be a little dabble inside that direction. So, and actually, I'll kind of pose this out. Rebekah, I know you have gone to a few leagues since then. I know that every scene is different locally, but have you seen any, you know, Emerald Sapphire decks in the wild before? Anyone playing around with this particular playstyle?
No, I mean, I have seen some of the Baja Blast, right? Ink combos with the Emerald and Sapphire, but not around the Hero Hamada. I did see some people playing with it I went to a couple sealed events and that card would come up though. And so that was fun. But I think that, like you're saying, it'll be a really interesting and fun deck idea to have with focusing around the Floodborne cards. And Evasive and Ward is crazy. That's crazy.
It's a lot to deal
It's a
with.
lot.
It's a lot to deal with. It's like, oh, like wait a second, like I can't target this? No,
Right.
it'll be fun. So we'll see. That's my pick. It's going to be like something completely different next episode. I guarantee you that. But
Right.
we'll have some fun. We'll have some fun. But moving on here, Rebekah, your pick because I know you like the puppies.
I do. I love the puppies. And so my pick was Pepper, the quick thinking puppy. And this is the puppy that whenever any of your other puppies is banished at all, whether it's in a challenge or from direct damage or anything like that, then it goes into your inkwell. And I've been playing with the puppy deck and it's a great ability. It makes such a big difference in the deck. You build up your inkwell. So it's kind of like this weird ramping way to ramp. And then, you keep questing and you're like, well, if you banish my puppies, then they just go in the inkwell. That's fine. And then there's some cool synergy there, of course, with the new Pongo as well, which can bring puppies back from your inkwell. But even just, being able to have, without Pongo, put puppies in your inkwell and then play more puppies out each turn. It's really, really fun. And we have seen this with other cards like the Grammatala that goes into the inkwell when banished and some other things. But I love that it's not just the one character, that it applies to all of the puppy characters. So yeah, really fun synergy in the puppy deck there. And I think Pepper's great.
Because I think like everything's a
And what an
puppy.
awesome way to ramp.
Yeah, it really is. And yeah, all the puppies are so Pongo and Perdita themselves are not puppies because they're adult dogs or whatever. But Pepper himself is a puppy, so if he does get banished, he goes in the inkwell. So you have, all the Dalmatian puppies. You have Pepper, Lucky, Freckles, Rolly. So there's a lot of puppies, and it is a really great way to ramp. And especially because with the you can of course build any version of that you want. I try to keep it like as much on theme and in the puppies as possible, and so that I don't have other normal ramp cards. Like I don't have Tipo in there. I don't have you know like Fishbone Quill or other cards that would help put one jump ahead cards into your inkwell. And so using Pepper for that is really, really fun. I
I
love him.
also
And he's
think
cute.
yeah, it's the question is it in the puppy sleeves?
It is. It
There we go.
is.
That's the big question. Is it in the puppy
Of course.
sleeve?
Yes.
I can't lie. I'm on the hunt for like outer sleeves to protect them because I think everyone knows
Yeah.
the sleeves are just kind of but
Yeah.
I'm looking to protect them. But I think it's so fun because not only did we get the almost everything's a puppy, but then I'm a real big fan of the inkwell manipulation, and I know we
Oh
have the
yeah.
Pongo where
Yeah.
it's like I believe, and Dylan can hold me accountable, but I think it's the first card where we can actually look at our inkwell after we've inked and play cards from
Mhm.
there. Is that right?
It's the
So
first
like,
one. Yeah.
Yeah, so we had Mufasa that was similar, but you couldn't
um,
look. It was return cards at random, whereas
At
this one you could
random.
actually
Yeah.
flip over and look at your cards.
okay, yeah. So no, and I also like I know it's Pepper, but I just the fact that Pongo is like pulling the puppies out of the mud, like, oh, come out of the inkwell real quick and
Come
go
out
into
of the
play.
inkwell. Yep.
Like it's a lot of fun. No, that's so fun. I usually keep a few theme decks on hand, and Puppies is 100% one of them. And I know John's a big fan of Thunderbolt. So John
Thunderbolt's
is your
great. Yeah.
right? John's
Yes.
is the puppy deck built on your end?
Oh yeah. I played with it last week. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
it worked out okay. The bad thing was is I played against Dylan's boy, Leon, and he has a very hard deck to play against anyway. And then I whip out a puppy deck to play against. I'm like, oh, what am I doing? I don't know. But
Right.
I got manhandled by a 6-year-old, but it's fine. It's fine. It's no big deal. But yeah, no. I have a puppy deck. I tried to do a puppy deck 2 sets ago, and now that they actually have everything here, it's like perfect.
Pieces
But
are coming together.
yeah, the
finally.
pieces are coming together.
Very much so. Yep. Lots of new puppy tools this set.
Yeah.
So
Dylan, how about you?
interesting is it? Right, like how interesting is it that we've all, in a sense, pulled a Sapphire card to talk about?
I was thinking about that. Yeah.
So
Because Dylan,
my
you got the
card,
Sapphire one as well, right?
yeah. So my card is Clarabelle News Reporter. There's two reasons as to why I have this card. The first one is kind of like a special reason that's close to home. And we talk about my son all the time, but I also have a daughter. And somehow I accidentally named my kid after two different Disney cows and didn't realize it until later on. So her middle names are Clarabelle and Grace. So Clarabelle being the Clarabelle that we all know and love, and then Grace is also a cow from Home on the Range.
Home on the Range.
We don't have Home on the Range cards yet. But the second reason is because I have been working on a good support deck for a very long time. Preston can attest to that. But to me, I want to find not just a theme deck that is built around a particular IP, but I want to find a mechanic and play around a mechanic. Like my wife has always played with the Rush of Ace of Peter Pan's and Peter Pan's Shadow, and that deck's awesome. And I've built bodyguard decks in the past where it's a bunch of bodyguards. But I think support is a mechanic that is easily overlooked and does not get the love that it deserves. And I think Clarabelle is the missing piece, kind of like we talked about with the puppies, that could actually help a support deck and make it work efficiently. Just the idea of being able to make that Alice growing girl work as a 3-drop character and then play Clarabelle on turn 4. So Alice is going to give all of your other characters support, and then Clarabelle, who has support already, says that your other characters with support get +1 attack. So it's going to boost the attack or the strength of all of your characters essentially if Alice is on the field. And then it's going to make it a lot easier for her to reach that goal of 10 strength. That way she can quest for 5. And
That's
then
really
looking
fun.
at, yeah, that's really cool. And then the Great Illuminary is a location that also gets overlooked that allows all of your characters with support to quest for extra lore too. And then I know there's a lot of Sapphire Ruby decks out there, but there's one card in particular because like my support version of a Sapphire Ruby is very different than the item builds. But there is a Li Shang, Lisa, I believe it's a Li Shang, who says that all of your characters who have 4 attack or more while he is on the field quest for an extra lore. So if you can give everybody support and just pass that support around one after another, you can just have everybody essentially have 4 or more strength, have them quest for an extra lore, and even extra lore if they're over at the Great Illuminary. Or we can do a Emerald Sapphire, the Baja Blast, or the Algae deck, and that's throwing it back to what I ran in the past. The first time I ran a support deck against Preston, and I had Pete and it's Pain and Panic to boost their strength, that once they reach a certain strength, they also quest for an extra amount. So I'm really excited to see how support works.
I would have never even began to think about this deck idea. And then like I know support's been a thing, but like it took me a second read. I'm like, oh, wait a second, like it's support, but then it's also buffing support. So the Alice Growing Girl makes it even easier to attain with that. What was it, 10 strength, I think?
Yeah, Alice has to have 10 strength, and then she'll quest for 5. Well, she gets +4 because she quests for 1 regularly.
There's a 6 cost Maximus that I've also been trying to throw into this. That at the end of your turn, if you have a character who has 10 or more, you also get another 5. So it'll be interesting.
I think I know what you're gonna play today. That's what I'm hearing. No, that's so fun. Like, because support's been around since the first chapter, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So I feel like support's always been this thing. It's like, oh, cool, I quest, but I can buff something real quick. But now it's like we're getting more pieces to the puzzle in a sense.
I truly believe it is the most overlooked ability. Whenever you compare to Singer, Challenger, Evasive, Rush, anything else, support is the one that gets the least amount of love.
It really, you don't see people building around it very much at all. It's kind of just like, oh, yeah, it's nice to have. That character happens to have support, but they're not necessarily choosing a character because of that support ability. But that Alice Clarabelle synergy, that's just wild. With Alice, just everyone gets support, and Clarabelle going, everybody gets extra strength. It's great.
No, that's actually really
a Namari or Mulan triple shot, gaining all that extra support to be able to ping that damage onto everybody.
That's a lot of violence, sir. Just kidding. Like that's a lot of ping damage. Sir, I need you to calm down. Just kidding. No, I want to see Mulan hitting something, pinging something for 1,000,001 at this point.
Oh my goodness. You'll have to let me know how that deck goes when you build it and play it. I want to know how that goes. That sounds really fun.
For sure.
No,
we can do that.
No, that's definitely gonna be fun to think about. Like it's just kind of been there, but no one's really just like you said, Rebekah, no one's choosing to support a character for any other reason, just to give the buff, I guess. And it's so much so, like, thinking about like the ability where it's like, oh, like I quested, I can give support, but I'm not going to because it doesn't move the needle a whole lot. So I like it. Dylan, you have to keep us posted because I'm curious. Well, I guess I'm going to be the recipient of all the pain that's about to be inflicted.
Right? Yes. Get ready.
Yeah, you'll see firsthand.
Yeah, I'll experience it firsthand. No, we'll see. But no. Now that we've talked about kind of like our initial first picks, again, we're still very early on Owl Island, if you will. Obviously we could talk about 1,000,001 topics here, but I think I mentioned this previously. Obviously we've been fans of Rebekah's work, Rebekah's content, all the work that you've been doing for really the community. And I told my wife this. I was like, it's like we have the spirit of Lorcana, like that is Rebekah, like on the show here. But and that's just the way I see it. Like it's just like it's the community that's going to keep things going for years and years and years and years and years, and not and all elements of the community. But and you kind of alluded to this a little bit in the beginning, but I think your Instagram account is what your first like public facing account. I think you just started it in a sense, but how has it? I know you alluded to it in the beginning, but you created that Instagram account. I'm sure you probably had no expectations for how it was going to go. Um, how has it been just seeing that growth? Because you're obviously Instagram is primarily where you post, right? And I believe maybe you have other channels. Is that right?
I do, but yeah, primarily just Instagram is where my content is focused, and then other socials is more where I'm just like interacting with people in the community and
Sure.
stuff. But when I started my Instagram account, one of the things that I did was kind of silly. I was really excited about the game, and I did see a lot of like toxic online behavior, particularly as it pertained to people who were obviously new players, were asking a lot of questions of like, how does this work? What does this mean? And just getting like, you know, trounced on by more experienced players coming from other games that just didn't have a lot of like grace in how
Right.
they were, interacting with people. And I'm like, goodness gracious, like we need a space where people can just be, welcome and to ask whatever questions they want and, find answers or have content that is accessible without them feeling like not being made to feel like they're dumb. And so that was one of the big reasons why I started my content was I was like, I want something that is for everyone. And I gave myself like this little mini challenge where I said, okay, what if I post something every day for like 30 days, like a month? Let's see what happens. And what happened was people started following and interacting with my content and they liked it. I was like, whoa, okay, well, this is cool. I'm going to keep going then and keep going. And I think that, I think I was surprised, but also not surprised at the same time. I think that because was such a new space and a new game, there weren't a lot of content creators out there when I started. So, part of it was just luck of timing and all of that. But really focusing on positive, accessible content, I think people really appreciated that. And so the feedback and even things that are, just humorous, commentary on life or the game or whatever. It's like super competitive players, can relate to some of that stuff. So it's not just new players and everything. It's all different as parts of the community. I think that can relate to the content that I do, so it's been a really fun journey watching the community grow and as more and more people come into the game, there's been more content creators as well. And I think that us all supporting each other has also been part of my success and of the success of other people's. Like I said, rising tides, lift all boats. And the community as a whole just keeps growing. And I mean, you guys are all Disney fans, and it's like the Disney fandom is so huge, and this game has so much more room to grow. That even now we're a year and a half almost into the game. That it's like this is still just the beginning. Like there's still so much more, and I'm excited to be a part of it. And it's wild to me sometimes. I went to, all the Lorcana challenges, and when we were in Seattle, I had the opportunity to take my whole family came with me because it was on the
Okay.
West Coast. And we were walking around, and people would come up to me and be like, "Oh, are you Rebekah Quest?" And my daughter, who is at 12, she's like, "Wow, Mom." She's like, "You're kind of famous. That's kind of weird."
I love that. It's like
She's like, "I'm not
it's
gonna
like always
lie."
wrong. It's like my mom's popular on Instagram for Disney cardboard. Like
Yeah, exactly. She's like, "I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of weird that you're kind of famous." It was really funny. And I think that was another big shock for me too, was when I went to the events and the first time that I had people that I didn't know recognize me, I was like, "Oh, wow. That's really," it was like weird, but not like in a weird, bad, negative way. It was just like
Sure.
surprising. I was like, "Whoa," you know? So, but yeah, my daughter's reaction was the best. Wow.
No, that's so funny. No,
She secretly thinks you're the coolest thing ever.
I hope so.
no, and it's a good backstory too because we see all the big Facebook groups, and I think I've talked about this on previous episodes where the holidays was kind of like a big pivotal shift because what was it? Lorcana Gateway was it what $6 at Target and stuff like that, and you just
Yeah.
had people getting into the game. I had colleagues at my company, getting into the game and they're playing with their kids, and just like you saw, like or just like you mentioned in some of these Facebook groups, people are just asking, "Hey, like, how does this resolve in the bag?" Or what's the I often say PIMDIS, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, like
Oh,
proceed.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
So like I see people ask these questions, and a lot of people's responses were just read the card, and I'm like,
Hmm.
that's not
That's not
helpful.
helpful.
Right?
Yeah.
It's not helpful, and I think since the holidays, we've seen a lot of people get into the game, and it's like they can go on YouTube and watch whatever content, but I think whenever we have people who aren't concerned about the meta and aren't concerned about having these $400 decks actually just sit down and explain things in another term, that's all you need. And
Hmm.
Dylan can kind of attest to it too. We have those folks show up to our weekly play all the time.
All
Just
the time.
yeah, and
Hmm.
it's like we would rather make sure that these people understand, and
Yeah.
we always tell folks like we don't care if it's your turn and you have a question on like if you should do this or not. Like Dylan is remarkable at that. That's how I learned from Dylan. Famously, I was playing friends on the other side like an item, so I was like, I love this game, I'm drawing
Oh,
all the cards after
all
every
the cards.
turn. And John puts his head down because he knows that's how I played it. I was like, I love this game. I'm just like, so Dylan was like, no, it
No.
doesn't work like that.
Yeah,
But
but
that's
instead
how
of
we
being a
learn.
jerk about it, like other
Right.
people have in the
Right.
past, or like we're seeing online, especially at a local community level, it's so good that people need to learn from each other. You learn from each other,
Hmm.
and we grow together as a community as the game grows. And we need to just even at set championships and other events, if we could just all take the time, slow down, help each other learn and understand, it it would be so much easier. The
Yeah.
community focus would be awesome.
Yeah, no,
See, I
Totally
see it. I see
agree.
the hate you're talking about.
yeah. No, it's
Yeah,
turn all over, unfortunately.
it is. But I think generally speaking, that my experience, I think people are less tolerant of that kind of stuff, and I do see people getting pushed back on, which I think is good, that everyone online and in person is kind of like, hey, we want the culture of this game to be a certain way, and so these are okay behaviors, or these are not okay behaviors. This is not how we want to interact in this space, and especially in your local community, I think that's the most important, because that's where you have the most effect there in person. So just exactly what you guys are talking about, it's like, hey, we're setting the tone here, so that when a brand new person walks into our store and sits down and they're like, I just bought this starter deck and I don't know what I'm doing, that they still have fun, can learn, and are excited to come back again the next week. And so setting that tone and culture for your community is so important. And then and I do think that as a creator, that's also important for me to think about, like, what is the kind of culture that I am creating in my space, and how, not that I'm like definitely not representing the game in any official capacity
Right.
with my content, but also I'm representing the game in some capacity because I might be the first, reel or post that somebody sees about the game. And so what is their experience then of interacting with my content? And is that going to make them feel excited to keep learning more about the game or not? And so that is definitely something, especially as my count has grown and I know that I have a wider audience, that I do think about when I create content, because that is important, that I want people to feel welcome with that. So
No,
yeah.
that's you put it in a really good way. Setting the culture
Mm-hmm.
is important, and that's something that I know Dylan and I like. We see a new person, we're like, "Hi, how are you?" Like,
Hey.
welcome in.
I love that.
I'm usually walking in like right whenever league starts, and Dylan's like already like got them like pulled aside, like just chatting. So no, that's huge. Is setting the tone for the culture, and there's going to be times and places for a little bit more competitive environments, like set champions.
Absolutely.
But even at DLC, and we'll talk about DLCs because I still rave about Atlanta every single like weekend, basically. But no, setting the culture and tone in a sense is important in local communities. But something else that's pretty big too is we've talked about the online. We both have presences, we both have channels and Instagrams, but there's so many other elements of this game that are appealing towards casual environments, and a lot of that has been the Lorcana quest. And I believe that you even had, what was it, Quest in the Park a couple months ago, was it?
Mm-hmm.
And,
Yeah.
and and forgive me because I saw it on the plane coming back from Nashville yesterday, but you are also spearheading a new social event. Is that right? Like,
Yeah.
can you talk
It's
about that a
called the
little bit?
Social Quest.
Virtual Quest. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I think that Ravensberger has done a great job with the DLCs, the Disney Arcana challenges, of creating space for competitive play. And that's really important for the game and really fantastic. And I know we're going to talk about that more. But I know that there's a space for big events that are focused around more casual, just like the love of the game, the love of Disney, the parks and the characters and the films, and just the art, of the game.
Yeah.
It's like, right? It like blows my mind. Like the art is so wonderful. And so when the North American Championships were going on, I got together with a couple other creators and we decided to host like a day in Disneyland, Quest in the Park, where people could come, and it's just everyone we're all Disney Lorcana fans. We all love the parks, so let's all go and be there together and enjoy the parks. We'll play some games, we'll do some pack rush, and then the Social Quest, this new event that I'm doing, which is being hosted at the Hilton Anaheim, right there next door to Disneyland. I'm so the space is being donated from the Hilton, so thank you to the
Wow.
Hilton Anaheim. And we sold out the tickets they were free tickets, but we sold out in an hour. The space, because I think there's such a craving for events like this, and the event isn't there's no competition at all. Well, that's not true. There's one competition, and that is we are having a cosplay Disney bound
Oh, cool.
contest. And we're doing some Disney trivia. And then we're just having like open play, learn to play, and
Mm.
other activities going on for the day. We're having a couple of Disney Lorcana illustrators who are going to be there that you can meet, and just really focusing on that more social and fan kind of event. And I think that there's just so much desire for that kind of way of engaging with the game, which is why it sold out so quickly in an hour.
Impressive.
And at the Quest in the Park, I was like, oh, when we were planning it, I'm like, I hope we get like a dozen people or like 20 people. I hope like 20 people show up. That would be fantastic. And we took a picture in front of the castle, in front of Sleeping Beauty's
Yeah.
castle, and we had like 70 people in that
Wow.
picture. And there were more people that were there during the day that kind of came in and out that weren't even in that picture. So I'm like, I know that there's just so many people out there that want something like this. And it's been really cool to be a part of those events. Hopefully, we did get at D23 last year, they announced the Lorcana Quest that Ravensberger officially will host, but they haven't said anything about it since then. So I'm hoping we'll
Soon,
hear
maybe?
something soon. I don't know. But I do think, and hopefully, even with us doing these events as creators, and hosting them in these smaller ways, I hope that Ravensburger sees that and goes, oh, there's something here, and that it, really encourages them to do whatever they're going to do with Lorcana Quest, because there's, I think, a lot of desire for that, and it's so fun to be a part of it. And yeah, the social quest is this small event. I'm like, well, we're already talking about, well, next time we got to get a bigger space.
2026, like,
Yeah.
let's go to the next one. No, it's so fun because the community, like yourselves, have just kind of taken it by the reins and been like, okay, like let's. There are other ways to enjoy the game. I personally love again. I wish we had more information about the Lorcana Quest, but I love the fact that we have the signature cards, because I'm actually heading to Disneyland next week, and I literally hit somebody up. I was like, I name your amount. I want to get a signed card. Like, I just need a blanket card. And we see them expanding this with Anna and whatnot.
Yes.
And I think that's just such fun side quests you can do in the park. Like, you're there to have fun and eat all the food and drink and whatnot, but then it's getting folks to engage at a deeper level. And I know we have the DLCs, and I know we have the set champs, and we have these community ran events. But is there anything else that you think might be missing from that equation, or is it social events that you think is kind of that last hole that needs filled, and which you all are trying to do?
Yeah, I really do think that that's the last thing that's needed. And one of the things that I would actually love to see is kind of combining the two. So having, you were able to go to one of the Lorcana challenges, and like those events are fantastic, and it is centered around the competitive events, not just like the main event, but also all the different side events that they do that are competitive. But in my mind, I'm like, if you could somehow combine what you're already doing with the Disney Arcana challenges, and then add on to that all this other more social stuff, like more like a con, like a
Mhm.
convention, like having panels with like Disney Arcana artists, they started having artists there, and, hosting things like the Illumineer's Quest game, as a side event, more casual play even, and kind of making those events a little bit more expanded beyond just the competitive, I think would be really fantastic, because I think most people are not just competitive or just more social casual players. Most people are somewhere along the spectrum, of somewhere in between those two. And depending on the day, you might enjoy playing one way or engaging with the game in another way. Or like, I can't tell you how many of the like super duper like highly competitive players are like the biggest Disney adults, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And
Like, I think you saw
yeah.
like I had come out with like what was it?
Oh
Was it
yeah,
Diablo on
one of
his
the
shoulder
shoulder
at one
pals. It
point?
was
Yeah.
Diablo. Yeah, exactly. Like at the North American Championships, they had Mickey there that you could meet. Like
Oh, yeah.
that was like the best thing. That was the best thing ever. Having characters at the events. I wish they could always do that. I'm sure it's expensive. um, but like I think that to me, I'm like, I don't think that they need to be like totally separate things. I think they should be combined so that people have the opportunity to engage in all those different ways, and that it really is celebrating everything that Disney Lorcana is as a game and as a community. So I hope that we start to see some more of that.
I think we will. I
Maybe
know
that's why
Dylan.
we haven't heard anything about it, is
I
because
guess.
they're trying to get everything together for DLCs still. Because I know that they DLC wise they're trying to plan all of them at once, so
Yeah.
they kind of got to get the DLC information out before they can do Quest if they're doing it together in one package, which I would also
Right.
love to see because I've been
Yeah.
preaching the same thing for a while.
Yeah. I do also hope that they host more of them. or I mean, bigger ones would be better, but I think and more either of those would be great. I know that's a lot to ask of their team. Like those are huge events. It takes a lot of people power to put those events on. There's a
Right.
lot involved. But I would love to see in more locations because uh, it takes a lot to travel somewhere and not just the time off and the money and everything, but then like also figure out like logistically like family or whatever, and having a DLC or a big Lorcana event that is maybe just a 5-hour drive away instead of a 10-hour flight, would
Right.
be a lot nicer so that more people can get to these events. So that's another thing that I think would be great.
Well, that's what Gen Con has turned into for me. It's 5-hour
Oh,
drive to
yeah.
Indianapolis. They have Lorcana's, Ravensberger's there, so they have the
Mm-hmm.
where you could do they have tournaments, they have casual play, they have learn to plays, they have the quests, they have the starter deck pack rush, they have all that, and it's kind of
Right.
what has turned to me is we go to Indianapolis, sure, to do the board games but the Lorcana stuff's there too, and PAX Unplugged. They do the same thing
Right.
at
A lot of
PAX
people go to
Unplugged.
PAX Unplugged.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
which we haven't been able to go because the past 2 years I've got tickets. I got sick, so
Uh,
Like clockwork, right, John?
oh man.
No, that's and you mentioned something really good. Like it's I think the fact, and I know that folks in the community have talked about, oh, like we don't have a date for Worlds and stuff like that. But I
Mhm.
think it's kind of two pronged. It's like, obviously they have to scale up their team respectively, but also it's kind of a good thing that people are hungry for Lorcana in all manners, like straight up.
Oh
Like
yeah.
people want the illustrations, people want more wide availability of the signature cards, people want more events. I know Dylan's like, Atlanta was good on the East Coast, but we need Columbus, Ohio, or somewhere in Michigan or
Mm-hmm.
something. Like
Yep.
Yep.
it's a lot. So by no means are we saying like our Ravensberger, like, no, that's not what we're saying, but it's like it's a good I guess it's a good problem to have. And then it's like
Yeah.
they opened up the floodgates and they're like, here's the next 2 sets and everything else. It's like,
I
whoa. And
know.
it's so much. And
Everyone
kind
just
of,
really wants those events.
yeah,
I think it's like being there in person too. I think it's like kind of hard to explain when you're together in person with a whole bunch of people that are there for the same passion, with the same level of passion about this game. Like there's just something about bringing all those people together into the same space that you can't accomplish online, right? You can't
absolutely.
it's not the same online. It's also not the same at like your local set champs, maybe you have 30, 40, 50, or maybe you have a local championship that's a tournament that's 100 people or whatever. That's still not the same as having 1,000 or 2,000 people plus
I'm
in a
wondering.
room. Yeah, it's beyond, it's so fun. So I know that everyone who experienced it wants more, and everyone who missed out is like, we want in.
Oh, absolutely. Like I remember getting on the wait list because initially it wasn't on my thing, but then I saw the demand go up. I'm like, I'm gonna have FOMO if I
Mm.
don't at least go to this. I was like,
Yeah.
I had zero expectations. I was like, I am not winning this thing. I just wanted to be at the inaugural weekend in
Yeah.
Atlanta. And granted, the event in Atlanta, it was far different than what we had at Disneyland and Seattle and all these other events. And I just remember leaving that week and going, I'm like, this is incredible. Like I saw kids, I saw families, people cosplaying, like I saw young, I saw old, and I was like, if every DLC can be like
Mhm.
this, then consider me sold on every single one. Like this
Yeah.
it was the most fun weekend ever, and I hope they expand on it. But kind of leads me to one question I think we've all kind of thought about was, obviously you created your Instagram account, helping other creators, other players, just making your card reveals and whatnot. But then all of a sudden you're casting DLC.
Yeah.
What how has it been working with that team? But how is it getting like that first initial contact going, hey, would you like to cast the DLC? Like what, like how has that been? Like what was that feeling like?
Wild. Yeah, I was shocked, I will say, when I was first approached. And when they reached out and asked, they were they were clear that it was not because they wanted my like deep strategy of the
Mhm.
game, right? Like they know that I'm not a highly competitive player and I'm not creating highly competitive content focused on the meta and the strategy, you know. I focus on, some things here and there, but my content is not that.
Right.
And so I was like, "Are you sure?"
You're
And
the
they're
right
like,
person.
right? Am I yeah, but did you mean to message me about this? And I think that, when I had discussions with them, it was really clear to me that they really were intentional about creating a team that would represent all different kinds of players in the community, and that from an official standpoint from Disney Ravensberger, Disney Arcana, that they wanted to have someone like me on as part of the team because they know that there's a bazillion other people who are like me, that approach the game in this kind of way, who enjoy my content. And if it was only a group of highly competitive players doing the DLC stream, would all of those other people that engage in the game in this other way tune into the stream? Maybe, but I think that, and also being a female, I think that they wanted to have representation there as well, which I can't tell you how many women I've spoken to that how much that matters, or I've spoken to parents
Important.
who have little girls that watch the DLC streams because I'm on there, and so I think that that was another part of it too. And so even though I know that there are people out there who don't like what I do on the stream, and that's okay, and I'm not there for them. And so it doesn't bother me because I'm not there for the highly competitive players. There are other amazing casters on the team who bring that to the commentary, that is there for those players. And I bring something for a different segment of the Disney Arcana community. And so that's what I focus on. And the fact that I got invited in the first place and they asked me back, and that their team really supported me to help me grow as a commentator was just really wonderful. And, a part of it too is not everyone can go to the Disney Arcana challenges. And so it's our job as the commentary team to help be a little window into all the excitement that's going on there at the Disney Arcana Challenge. And so that's also been something that's really fun for me, is like, how can we make sure that the people who are watching at home or have it on at their LGS, while league is going on, which I've had a couple people send me pictures of like, hey, we have you guys on in the background. I'm like, that's so cool. And bringing the fun and excitement of this event to the people who can't be there. And so that also has been really neat. And I'm, watching the events grow and get better each time, and working with the other people on the team. Like, the rest of the commentary team are fantastic creators and commentators, and it's been nothing but wonderful working with all of them. And I hope they continue to ask me back because I enjoy it so much. But I also hope that they expand the team, and let's have more women on there, and other, have more representation of other people in the community. So I'm excited to see what the next year is going to bring.
Oh yeah, like and I think Dylan's gonna kind of lead the second half of this conversation a little bit, but our both of our wives play and whatnot, and it's always fun because if my wife can't show up, she'd be like, oh, like I'm rooting for the girls today at league or something like that. Like
I love
it's and
that.
I love the fact, and I believe my wife's part of a Facebook group for I believe Lady Illumineers. I believe I can't recall the exact Facebook
Oh,
group,
nice.
but it's been really important to see that representation at
Mhm.
all levels, really. And the fact that Dylan, we're not only we're friends, but our wives are friends now through this game and whatnot. it's so important too, and we hope they continue asking you back because it's
Thank you.
just that variety of perspective and whatnot. And you did a phenomenal job with the player interviews, the after game interviews and whatnot as well. I think it's a perfect match. Again, it's that community element that's been so big, and you're right, it does give folks who aren't at these events a little window into what it's like to be at one. So, and also through the Instagram stories, which I'm just basically like living
Yeah.
vicariously through you. So
Yes.
that's fun.
I love it. I love that your wives have become friends too. That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. There's like Cassidy. It's like Dylan's right. My wife would be like, Cassidy beat Dylan's butt or something like that, like just across the
I love
table.
it.
And yeah,
It's
no,
great.
just good fun banter.
So speaking of women representation, we have not said it yet. I would like to take the time to say Happy Women's History Month, Rebekah,
Oh, thank
because
you.
whether you realize it or not, you are making history.
Mhm.
You really are every day. You are making history, at least like within the world of Lorcana. And this is something that much later in the game we're going to be able to look back and you're the OG. You are the spirit. You are the community, and everything you do has been awesome. And there are so
Thank
many
you.
other awesome female content creators within Lorcana and just players. And I noticed that earlier this month on International Women's Day, you shared a reel on your Instagram. There was a throwback, I believe, to like the year prior, and then
Yeah.
it was you and a bunch of other women who within the world of Lorcana were sharing your favorite cards. And I noticed that your favorite card was Arthur Wizard Apprentice. So knowing that we're on set 7 now and a lot of cards have came out since then, is he still your favorite?
No.
Aw.
He's not. I do love Arthur though, but he just can't survive for anything these days. It's so hard. If you know what,
Yeah.
if I could keep Arthur on the board for longer than like one turn, he probably would be one of my favorite cards. I do love Arthur. He's super fun to play with, and I love him with my favorite combo with Arthur when he was my favorite was LeFou. And so you bounce back LeFou and then you replay LeFou right away to ready Arthur to keep him safe. And it was just like an endless cycle of LeFou and Arthur going. It was fantastic. I love it.
One of my
But
new
yeah.
favorite combos with him in this past, I think it was Archazia, we got the, gosh, I can't, and I don't think it was Go-Go. I think it was Gazelle, maybe, from Zootopia, that when you play or get, you can give a
Oh,
character
and give you
evasive
evasive. Okay.
to Arthur, and
Well,
then just bounce Gazelle back, and
bounce
then you can
Gazelle
just
back and forth.
replay her
Okay.
every turn. Yeah, just
Now you have
continuing to
me
give Arthur
thinking. I
evasive.
might have to try this. I think Arthur's great. Yeah. If you're playing against Steel, then you probably don't have much hope, I guess. But
Yeah.
yeah, Arthur's a great card and he really was my favorite at the time and so but yeah, giving him evasive with Gazelle. That's fun. I hadn't thought about that. Now I have to go try it again maybe.
So who is your favorite now?
Oh, it's like every day is probably something different, you know? But actually, one of my favorite cards, which is from the same set as Arthur, and she was probably my second favorite card after Arthur at the time, and she has remained a favorite, is Lady Tremaine.
Ladies and chairs.
I love the ladies and chairs. Lady Tremaine is fantastic. And I even with Madame Medusa, when Madame Medusa came out, I still prefer Lady Tremaine. And I know people are like, well, Medusa's better. I'm like, well,
Each their
So
own.
I do love Lady Tremaine, and she has stood the test of time a little bit better than Arthur did.
So we talked a little bit about how our wives come to league with us, or we come with them, however you want to look at it.
Right?
So, unfortunately, in the area that we live, it's a pretty rural area, and what we see online does not reflect every local area because maybe it is more 50-50 online, and where you're at on the West Coast, I'm sure there are more females involved in Lorcana. But unfortunately, there seems to be like a stigma of some sorts just lingering that's been there for however long, just surrounding LGSs as a whole, and TCGs, and video games, and comic books. And it stinks, but a lot of people in our area still view it as those are for boys or those are for guys.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been so hard to have more female representation within our local area. So coming from someone who that's what you do best is that female representation, and you've been doing it for so long, do you have any ideas what we could do, or not just us, but other people in their local areas that may be going through the same struggles about bringing in more females, or even if it's not just females, anybody in general? What is a good way to advertise in a small local area to people who might enjoy Disney, might enjoy Lorcana, but have never really gotten to a TCG or had the courage to actually go play at an LGS?
Yeah. I think that's a great question. And definitely something, especially in like different local areas, is probably looks very different. Like you're saying, the LGS that I go to does have quite a few women that play there, but that is not the case in a lot of places where maybe a woman shows up and she's the only one, the only female in the room. I think for me personally and my experience, I was really fortunate that I had a mom who was very strong and independent and modeled for me that going places by myself was okay. And like my mom would go, to a restaurant by herself or to a movie by herself, and if she wanted to do something, she would do it. And I think that having someone else model something for you is just really, really important. So I was fortunate in that. So when I did play Magic as a kid too, like, so I had a little bit of, and it was just very casual, like and I played with the boys because the boys were the only ones who played in high school.
Right.
And they would all get together and have parties to play Magic, and I would be the only girl invited. And the other girls were like, "Why don't we get invited?" I'm like, "Well, play Magic, and you'll get invited." And so I think that just because of that, that when I picked up, and I hadn't played Magic in years, but when I picked up Disney Arcana, I was like, I want to play this, so I'm just going to walk into the nearest LGS. I don't care who else is there. But it was because I had that modeled for me, and then I had some experience of that in the past. And not everyone, though, I know has that modeled for them or has that confidence. And there's a lot of anxiety surrounding walking into a space where you're unsure of whether or not you will be welcome. And something that I would encourage people to do, women to do, or anyone who is new, is maybe don't let a league night be the first time that you check out a space, right? Like go to the store on a non-league night just to like check out the space and the vibes. Use their restroom. Does the LGS keep a nice women's restroom? And if you're an owner of an LGS, please keep a nice restroom for the women. Small things like that. But there's something I think about becoming familiar with the space. And if you're just going to walk in on a league night, I think that can be overwhelming. And so I would encourage anyone who wants to check out a space, go there and just check it out. Check out the store before you go to league. I think that is really a good first step. And sometimes you might walk into a space and be like, oh, this doesn't feel like the right space for me. And that's okay. Not every space is going to be the right space for you. And then, go check out a league. And I think it's hard to tell somebody, just have the confidence and know that you belong, even though that's true. Like you can do it, you belong, and there is space for you, and don't let anyone tell you that you don't belong. But you kind of have to find that within yourself. For the other people around, for you guys or anyone else who has a league that wants to make sure that people who are new feel welcome of other genders, I think like you're saying already that when new people walk in that you're just like saying hello, like honestly, like saying hello to somebody who's new that walks in to just kind of break the ice and, you know, oh, how are you? How did you get into playing Lorcana and starting a conversation? I think that those small things, when you sit down to play a game, yeah, how long have you been playing Lorcana for? And it's like once you kind of start talking and get people to feel a little bit more comfortable, that goes a long way. But honestly, like saying hello to people when they walk in, I think is like the smallest, but really an important thing to do for new people that walk, any new person. But I think for women especially, to feel like they belong, not like they're being like othered, like who is this, in the room. And yeah, I think those are the advice that I would give. Hopefully
No,
that's helpful.
That's pretty sound advice. I would
no,
have never thought to go visit like first. That's
Yeah.
pretty smart for like any TCG, I guess.
yeah,
Yeah.
and ironically, our the game shop that we frequent, there's two locations about like 25 miles from each other, or whatever. But they just have board games out where folks can just walk in, grab a beer, glass of wine, whatever, and just play a board game or whatever, free of charge or whatnot. So definitely also like do your research. I think would be another like
Yeah.
honorable mention. Like check out the Facebook page. I know our local
Yeah.
game shop, they post pictures of every sealed event, and just kind of get a vibe check in a sense. And yeah, I think it's kind of reinforcing what we talked about earlier. But I think everyone else has an equal responsibility to make sure that these new folks feel welcome and feel invited to play the game. And I love something that Dylan and I don't say that we do, but most of the folks, we average what, 10 a night, Dylan, roughly, on a good night.
On a good night, yeah,
On a good night,
maybe
yeah, so 6
15.
maybe. But one thing that we've also done as well is, and kind of tying into honorable mention topic if we have time here, but one thing that majority of us at our local store have done is we don't hog the pins. We don't hog the promos. Like,
Mhm.
I got my Tigger pin and my Baymax pin, and we're good. And while they were raffling off the organized play stuff, I won one during the raffle. I'm like, I don't need another pin. Like let's put this back in rotation. And I'll never forget that, Dylan. I think right before Azure C ended, we had a woman and her fiance show up, and it was their first time playing organized play. And we put that pin back into rotation, and they got the pin, and they were
They
just
got
like
it.
ecstatic. Yeah, I was like, I think it's stuff like that, and everyone has their own motivations, but it's just the way that most of our community is we don't hog pricing. Like Dylan and his wife, they both won 2 Tinkerbell lore counters, whatever they're called. And next
Oh,
thing I know,
yeah.
Dylan's sliding one across the table over to my wife and I. So it's that as well. I think just kind of, I don't want to say like just make it make sense in a sense. I think that simple gestures like that, I think can go a really long way for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And just like there's so many different examples I can talk about and whatnot. And I kind of want to interject here if we have time. And this is a topic that Dylan and I have purposely put off. And I was like, can we squeeze in this episode? Talking about the casual environments, the OP kit changes and
Yeah.
how League is no longer a thing. Is that right? Officially, like the point thing, is that right?
Officially. Yeah, so it's not called League anymore. It's no longer League, which the way that I defined it is League was, yeah, accumulating points over a period of time over the 3 months of the set for prizes at the end, and that it was really about attending over that full time, earning points and accumulating. So they've done away with the points. They've done away with that being like you have to come every week, for the whole time. And they're now just calling it weekly play. And they're encouraging stores to give out the prizes on a weekly basis and doing it in a more random fashion. So like a raffle drawing kind of situation, instead of just giving the pins and promos to like your top performers each week. And then they're encouraging stores to also, well, if you want to give performance, have it be packs or whatever. And I really, really think, like exactly what you're saying with encouraging people who are more social players to come into the game, that they can do that and have just as much of a chance of anyone else of earning a prize that week and getting something fun, And we did see in our league very early on that when they were giving the pins and promo cards to top performers, it was like the same group of 5 people that would get them every single week. And it was like really frustrating for a lot of people, and especially the people who are more casual players who were on the bottom every week. It's like, okay, well, why am I going to keep coming?
Exactly.
And so I think that these OP kit changes are really, it is recommendations. So if a league is not doing it this way, they're not like going against policy or anything. Like they shouldn't get reported necessarily because they're not like not following the rules. But the recommendation is this. And I think that it really does encourage stores to be more welcoming to a diversity of types of players, and I hope that more stores implement it in that way. I think it would be really great. But again, each store knows their local community and what will serve that community best. But I think it's a good change overall.
I would agree. And I know this is something that, Dylan and I talked extensively about whenever it dropped in the floodgates of news.
Yeah.
But I'm down for the change. I think it keeps more competitive environments and more competitive environments, but now it's a individual can show up to league and there's no longer pressure to have to show up 4 weeks in a row. Because there have been times where I missed all 4 weeks. And I'm like, I ain't getting anything this to go around. So it's definitely fun, and I think I'm down for the change. And Dylan, John, I know that there was league last week at our shop, but how's kind of the reception around that? Where's your all's heads with that?
I think the best part about it is it does make it more casual, and we're talking about how there's not as much pressure to be there, but now there's not as much pressure to win games or matches, so you can actually feel free to show up and play whatever deck you want without that pressure of, if I don't perform well, I might not get prizes, which maybe that is a lot of people's, that's what promotes them to go, is the prizing. Not everybody is like that. But now we will also see more diversity in decks as well. We won't show up and hopefully not see the same Sapphire Steel decks and Ruby Sapphire decks at League every day, especially whenever it's a small group that we have and we max out at maybe 15 sometimes, and you see the same decks consistently week to week. And now that they've opened it up like this, the diversity and the deck building is just one of my favorite parts of the game in general. So I think this just makes it awesome.
Yeah,
I agree. Sorry, Dylan. I know you're on a roll here, but I was like, the OP kit changes.
You're good. All right.
It is really interesting that you bring up, though. Can I interject?
Go ahead.
Think that there's so many cards in Disney Arcana, and we're always getting more, right, with each new set, and so many different fun decks that you could build that are not competitive, that I think, like exactly what you're saying, Dylan, that a change like this will introduce a little bit more creativity to the game, and that we'll see more variety. People will have a chance to play fun decks and be more creative with their deck building. And I think it's important. That even in and of itself is really important. And it's important, I think, for the health of the game too, right? And
for sure,
the longevity of the game. So I think that that's another good point for for the changes. Yeah.
It's a good league night whenever somebody plays a card and you're like, hold on a second, what does that card do?
Wait, what was that?
What does that card do?
Exactly.
When did this come out?
Yeah.
Milan shift.
Yes.
Yeah.
I threw everybody for a loop last week with that one.
So I think the final question we have for you, and this one's a little personal, but very, very fitting overall. So not to blow your head up a little bit, but fellow Illumineer, Lorcana caster, content creator, Vault X ambassador, I mean, that's pretty recent, community leader, inspiration to other women, and other Lorcana players such as us, But first and foremost, mom.
Mm-hmm.
From one Lorcana parent to another, and I had no clue you had a daughter. I've heard so much about your
Yeah.
son, but I have an 11-year-old daughter, so I mean they're really close. And then I have a 6-year-old son, and I think your son's a little older. But from one Lorcana parent to another, what has your journey been like playing with your son? And is Sapphire like just a phase that he's in?
I hope so. Yeah, so I am a mom of two. My son is a little bit older than yours. He's 15.
Yeah.
And then I do have a daughter. She's now 12. And I've played Lurkana with her a few times. She's not interested in it as
Oh, I
much.
get
If I bribe her with boba, she'll play with me.
It's a worthy bribe.
Right? And she'll play, like the puppy decks. And we have played like Illumineer's Quest together a few times, but for the most part, she's not interested. But my son, Caleb, he, when he turned maybe around like 8 or so, he got introduced to Magic, by some friends at school. And I was like, oh, I have my old cards from way back when. And so I kind of taught him how to play a little tiny bit. But he didn't really get like super into it. But he had fun playing. I think he was playing playground rules. He didn't really know what he was doing. And then when Disney Arcana came out, I was like, oh, because I was not interested in playing Magic anymore for a myriad of reasons. But when Disney
Right.
Arcana came out, I was like, I wonder if Caleb would enjoy this. And so I got the cards and taught him how to play, and he picked it up like so fast. And I was like, okay, well, maybe this is something then that we can play together and we'll do together. And he was excited about it and he was excited to learn. And then we actually kind of had like a bumpy road in the beginning. Like it was like he was excited at first and then he was losing all the time. And he got really, really frustrated. And, as an adult, when you lose a lot, that's one thing. And you can be frustrated, but you know kind of how to manage your emotions about it a little bit better. For a younger person, I think he was, probably 13 or 14 when the game came out. So it was a lot more difficult for him to, emotionally handle the losing. And he was ready to give up playing actually altogether. And I said, well, that's fine if you want to stop playing. But if you're having fun, if it's just the losing, what we should do is find a deck that you enjoy playing and that you're still having fun even when you lose. And if you win, great. But that if you are having fun and you still lose the game, that you still walk away with a smile on your face. And if we can find you a deck like that, would you want to keep playing? And he's like, yeah, I guess. And so we did some, tried out some different things, and he found a deck that he enjoyed playing even when he lost. And that was the key, I think, for him as a kid, was that even when he lost, still being able to find the fun. And then from there, I mean, he's just grown, and it's been so cool watching him learn the game more and grow. He really enjoys the competitive part of Disney Lorcana. So he's into the meta and finding that, he was on the Bucky deck when it was out. He's been on Ruby Sapphire. I don't know. He actually tried out the Oswald Sapphire Steel deck recently, and he really likes that. So he might jump ship from Ruby Sapphire, but he might go back. He hasn't decided yet. But he likes playing, those kind of really competitive decks. And the fact that it's now a year and a half into the game and he is still loving it, and it's still something that we can do together, as a mom, especially a mother and a son, and him being a teenager. I know that this is kind of the time in life where you can get really separated because you don't have a lot of things in common. And so it's been really, really valuable for me, and to have this thing that we can share, that we both enjoy separately, but that we can also enjoy it together. And out of everything that I've done with Disney Lorcana, honestly, at the end of the day, that has been the best thing about this game, is that it's something that I can enjoy together with my son, and it keeps us connected. And I hope that that's something that can continue on. So far, it looks like it is. But if the day comes and he ever wants to stop playing, then that's fine. But for now, it's like that's something to really treasure. To be able to spend time with your child over this, and I'm glad that we were able to find it. So, yeah.
I like that
Feel that.
on your
I feel
Instagram
all of that.
story. Yeah, it's incredible. And one thing I really like too is every time set championship comes around, you almost like vlog it on your Instagram story. And I think that's like such an important thing too for those looking for their first set championship. It almost gives like a vibe check too. Like it gives a vibe check as to what the event could be. And I feel the emotional roller coaster too, because like every time like set championships rolls around, I'm like, all right, how's Caleb doing? Like let's go, boy. We're rooting for him as
man.
well. So.
There's this last round of set champs for Azure IC. There was one in particular that I think he was only one game away from making it to top 8, actually. And it was a bigger one. I forget how many people were there. And like Ed Chu was in the room playing. So like it was a tough crowd. And I was like standing over and watching, and it was like, my heart's racing, and I'm just like watching every move, just like sitting there, my arms are crossed. I'm like, oh, is he gonna make it? And he didn't, and that's okay. He still and he felt good about what he did. Sometimes that's just how it goes. Also, this game is great. I mean, speaking of like him getting frustrated with losing, it is great to learn how to lose well, so great for him for that. But man, as a mom, like watching, and I imagine that, it's like the same as anything, that if you have a child involved in sports or theater or dance or piano lessons or whatever, that when they're, up there performing, whatever it might be, that you just want them to succeed so badly, and you get so nervous. And I was like, oh man, like I'm in full mom mode right now.
I love it.
And it's fun,
It's
being his
instant.
cheerleader.
Yeah, like that's really fun too. And trust me, I see Dylan. I don't have any children, but I see Dylan with his boy, and it's like what was it 2 weeks ago? Like we turned the gameplay into learning moments, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So let's just say. Yeah, Dylan does a really good job. It's like you could have won, but here's where you could have done differently. I love that it's a learning thing too. But no, it's a lot of fun.
We get that same thing. He'll lose, and then he's 6, so I understand what you're saying. Like whenever a child loses, they compartmentalize it a little bit different, and they sometimes can't handle it, especially with a 6-year-old. And I think the boys here can all attest to it. Mine sometimes. Well, it's probably once a week if he loses, especially to his mom. If it's the first matchup of the day and he's playing against his mom, we know how it's going. So he'll play, and if he loses, it's at least once a week. I'm done. I hate this game. I'm not playing Lorcana anymore. And then immediately afterward, it's like, okay, I want to make these changes to my deck. Like, okay, make up your mind, kid. Do you clearly love this game? Are we going to play or are we not?
The emotional roller coaster, man.
Slowly trying to convert him to a Blurple player, and so I've been built him up. We'll save that for another day.
Oh man, that's great. I think
it takes a
that
village.
Yeah, it really does. And I think that for I don't know if anyone's listening, obviously they are on board with Disney Arcana, but I know that some people might be like, oh, that's weird, like that's a nerdy thing or weird. Like you said, like the stigma around like kids playing TCGs, but like there are so many skills that kids can learn from TCGs. Like it's good for reading, it's good for math, it's good for problem solving, it's good for strategy, it's good for just like learning how to lose and win graciously. I've had to talk to Caleb about winning graciously too. Like That's
Yep.
really important. Like good sportsmanship is important, you know? So it's like there are so many great things for kids around TCGs. And so I think that that is, you know, if you have a kid who's interested, then even as young as 6, I think that's fantastic that your son is playing. That's great.
I think that wraps up all of our questions that we have for you. Thank you for answering them. I know it was a lot, and again, like we appreciate you coming on. And if we have time, we're good. Okay, then we have a fun game we would like to play for you before we
All right.
let you dip out and leave on us. So we've done this a couple of times with Preston, and I'm not an artist, first and foremost. A lot of these cards that I'm about to show are not artistically the best. I focus more on the abilities of the card and how they would perform, how good of a card they are. But we are going to blind rank 5 custom cards. It's all going to be centered around a theme. And this week's theme is the critters that could have been. So these are all guys that are critters to some extent that we could have got on Archazias, but we did not. So if this works properly, hopefully it does, then I can just drop some images down into the chat for you to blow up and see. So our first one that we have here is Vinny, the Forgetful Pigeon. He is a 3-cost uninkable 2/2 that quest for 2. And these are the pigeons from Bolt. So his
where will they
ability
be?
here.
Sorry.
They should be in our chat in the Discord call. If you have it full screen, or if you have the chat hidden.
Dylan, I don't see
Maybe
myself.
it
Let's
did
pick it
not.
on my side real quick.
Oh, maybe they're coming through now.
Oh, maybe. Oh no. Did we lose Dylan? There we go. No. I see you're typing.
We here?
Yeah, I got you. Let me try this. There we go.
Oh, there we go.
Awesome.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah,
I'll send them. I got it there. I'll send them.
Sweet. Technical difficulties. That'll work.
Vinny.
Yeah, so this guy, he has the ability turn and pull, because whenever Bolt gets his big melon stuck in the gates, that's how he decided that he was going to turn and pull his head out. So it is, while this character is in play, so each time a character is returned to their player's hand, you draw a card. So then you'll just take these, and then on a scale, I guess, not necessarily a scale, but between 1 and 5, you are going to rank these cards on where you'll want to place them.
And number 1 is like top?
Yep.
Or bottom. Okay. Number 1 is top. So Vinny seems pretty good. Anything that can draw you cards is great. And I do like Kitty Quest for 2. Oh gosh, but I don't know what's coming next.
He's going to be the next $50 card. Watch out. Draw cards.
Of course, I love also that he's a uninkable emerald card, because that's always how it goes.
Yep.
I don't know. I feel like I want to put this at a 2.
Okay.
I'm going to put it
Set
at
yourself
2.
up. This is how Preston
Yep.
plays.
I play a dangerous game too, Rebekah. Don't worry.
Then that flavor text there says, I gotta tell you, I never forget a face.
Never forget a face.
Which
It's great.
Which, if you've seen the movie, he completely forgets who Bolt is, and it just makes sense because it's each time a character is returned to their player's hand, so you're instantly forgetting the face of that character.
Yes.
I love it. The
love
flavor
it.
text always gets me, Dylan. I love these.
All right, so next, if John can help me out here, we have Thumper.
Oh, Thumper.
I'm kind of disappointed we didn't get Thumper, to be quite honest.
I know, and we don't have any Bambi cards yet.
Not yet. So this guy is a 1-cost uninkable 3/1 with Rush. So we have a couple of 1-cost 3/1s with Reckless, but as Rush. And then his flavor text is, I'm thumping. That's why they call me Thumper.
We need this card in the game right now. We do. I love a 3 strength rush on turn 1. So I will put this at 3. I don't think it beats out Vinny, but a solid 3 here I'll go with.
Okay.
All right. Then and next we will have Scat Cat from the Aristocats.
Yeah, cat. Oh, a dual
Oh my God.
link.
Mm-hmm. So he is a 5-cost inkable, dual ink, Amber Still for those Still Song players. He is a 3/5 that quest for 2. And while this character is exerted, your other characters gain +2 cost to sing songs. Kind of like Stitch's record player, but this will
Yes,
work
yes,
for all of your
yes.
characters.
Okay. Only while he's exerted. Oh, in an Amber Steel song deck, that would be great though. I might have to put this at a 5 though. I'm gonna
Okay.
I'm gonna put Scat Cat on the bottom because I want to leave some room for other cards.
I got excited whenever I saw this. I was like, because I'm thinking Steel Song right now. I'm like, this would be incredible right
Oh,
now.
so
I'm
fun.
I'm
Yeah.
like, because I don't think because Stitch's record player it's an item, right? And is that just
It's an
blanket everything,
item.
or you have to consume it to give
No,
it to
it's
someone?
only Stitch, right? It's only Stitch counts as
Yeah, it's
more.
just your
Okay,
Stitch characters.
Yeah. So this
interesting.
is nice because it's all your other characters cost. Yeah.
Yeah, but then it has that downside of he has to be exerted.
He
But
has
it's
to be
not whenever he
exerted.
quests, so he could also sing
Right.
songs to himself and then technically be exerted
Right.
to allow other people to sing. And then his little flavor text is actually from Everybody Wants to Be a Cat, and it's everyone is picking up on the feline beat.
Love it.
All
I'm
right.
gonna watch the movie
Yeah,
tonight.
we got
Yeah, we
two more
watched it a
here.
few weeks ago.
Next, we have Flash Slothmore from Zootopia.
Oh yes, Flash.
I love this.
Yeah. So he is a 5-cost inkable. This is Flash Slothmore catching up to the joke. And this is like capturing the moment that Nick Wilde just told him the joke. So he is a 4/5. He has the ability, DMV Patience, that you can exert him, and chosen character cannot ready at the start of their next turn, which Amethyst loves to do already. Blurple loves that, so I'm sure Preston's behind that. And if you notice, he does not quest for anything. But his second ability, I Get It, which is him actually catching on to the joke.
Yes.
So when you ready this character, you gain 3 lore.
I love it. Flash is going in my number 1 spot for sure. I've been waiting for a Flash card for so long. Oh, man, I hope he's good whenever he actually makes it in the game. This is really fun, and I would actually love to see an ability like this where you gain lore on a character readying. I think that's so interesting. I would love to see that in the game. Dylan, you're
I
so
think there's a
creative with
couple
these.
like that. Well, thank you.
Oh, are
Yeah,
there?
and his flavor text is, yeah, I think there's gosh, I'm trying to think. There might be a Wreck-It Ralph. His is a little different. It's when you ready him, you gain lore based on how much damage is on him.
Wait. Oh, okay. Yes, yes, yes.
There might be another one. That's just the only one I can think of. And his flavor text is actually a quote that says, "Are you saying that because he's a sloth, he can't be fast?" And it's a quote from Nick Wilde from Zootopia.
So good.
And then that will bring us to our final and last card, which will automatically go into your 4. Is this your 4 slot?
Yeah. This is the 4 slot. What do we got? Oh.
It is a 6-cost, uninkable, dual ink, amber ruby, Todd and Copper, the Fox and the Hound. It is a 2/6, shift 3, because it is a Floodborn card. And this character, kind of like Chippendale and Flotsam and Jetsam, this character counts as being named both Todd and Copper. It quests for 3, and then it has the ability Best of Friends, that at the start of your turn, choose one. This character gains Evasive until the start of your next turn, or this character gains Bodyguard until the start of your next turn.
Oh man, that was a good one. The blind rank. Oh man.
Yeah.
Trust me, I have fallen into this hole multiple
Ah,
times. I'm like, ah, like
all
that
the
would have been so
time,
good.
dude.
But Dylan,
Yeah, so good.
I have to say, Dylan, like, just I love like your brain just thinks so differently than mine, and just being able to, have
Fantastic.
Todd and Copper like just pair off each other in a sense. This is fun,
Aw.
but I think
You
I'm
can't
with
have one
Rebekah.
without
We
the
need
other.
Flash. What was it? Sorry.
Right?
Said you can't have one without the other.
That's true. That's true. But I'm with Rebekah though. We need Flash. Like, give me an
Yeah, we
enchanted.
do.
Give me something. I
I
love
think
it.
Flash should have Rush.
Flash.
I
Imagine
think we
giving
should
him
get
Rush.
we'll get a second Flash later on. Like my Flash I created is
The
cool. We'll
clipboard.
get like that Flash, but then we'll get a racer Flash later on with him in his car,
Yes.
I love
and
That'd
that.
be
he'll have to
great.
have the racer tag.
The racer tag. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Everything will be a racer. That's what
Aw.
it's. No, I love that. But no,
We're all gonna cry when Todd and Copper come in the game, though. Oh, Fox and the Hound,
I
man.
know it's gonna be about that. But no,
So
I want to
fun.
post it out though. Regardless of the platform you're watching on, whether it be Spotify or YouTube, let us know in the comments how these ranked. Except it's not going to be blind unless you pause the video and or whatever. But I'm curious to see where we go here. But John, I know you're the man behind the curtain, but we love to get your input too. Not blind for you, but who gets your one pick here?
Oh, I'm a Todd and Copper fan.
You're muted.
Fox and the Hound. I don't have it here, but Dylan saw it. I have my
Oh,
kindergarten
John, we don't
lunchbox.
got you.
I'm a.
Your green light,
Oh,
but you're
well,
muted
that's
on
weird.
Discord.
In Discord, my friend.
Huh. Well, that's really weird. I don't know why I'm muted.
Oh wait,
Ah.
there's so many buttons.
I
I've
don't
done
know.
that so many times.
I don't know how that
Oh, there we
happened
go.
in Discord. I've been talking all this time on the stream or on the video, but I don't know how it got muted in Discord. That's weird. Todd and Copper was mine. Dylan saw the lunchbox I had. I'm going to give my age away here. I am 49 years old, so I'm almost 50. So I had a Todd and Copper lunchbox that I carried to kindergarten with, and I still have it with thermos and everything. So Fox and the Hound
Amazing.
is still one of my favorite movies, even though it's still, tugs at those strings. But yeah,
That's awesome.
I'm a Todd and Copper fan, so that was my pick.
No, it's fun. Dylan, I can't wait to see. We'll have to do this again. It's been a minute since we've done the custom cards, but you'll have to cook something
That's
up
fun.
as we approach Jafar. So,
For
Oh,
sure.
yeah, absolutely. But folks, I think we're kind of pushing time here. Again, we promised to be a little timely here and whatnot, but we've greatly enjoyed the conversation with you, Rebekah. Seriously, it's been a lot of fun, and I'm going to tell on Dylan. Dylan was like, "Oh, I'm nervous." I'm like, "We're all just human. We love this game. But let's just talk. Like, this is just a league conversation." So, Rebekah, we've enjoyed having you on the show so much about not
Thank
only
you.
blind ranking custom cards, but also how not only we can make the community better, but also how others can make the community better, and just your journey and your experiences. So we couldn't have asked for a better first guest at the ink table than
Thank
you.
you.
So we appreciate it. But feel free, plug your show's socials. Where can folks follow you follow along with you on your journey here?
Yeah, so like I said, mostly on Instagram at Rebekah Quests, and any other social platform that exists, you can probably find me at the same handle, Rebekah Quest. I hang out in a lot of Discord servers, so if you are on Discord, if you are a minority gender, there's a great Love to Lore server that I'll plug as well. It's called Love to Lore, and so talking about creating space where women would feel comfortable and whatnot, that's a great place to get connected with other women. And especially I know that there's even some like local groups that kind of help connect each other in local areas as well through Love to Lore. But yeah, Rebekah Quest everywhere. I love interacting with the community. Feel free to message me on Instagram or tag me wherever, and I'm happy to chat. And I love talking with other people about Lorcana, and yeah, come follow along, and you'll also see Caleb's journey as well.
Absolutely. No, I'll be sure to post all those inside the description, no matter what platform you folks are listening on. So, but no, folks, we gotta bounce the league here. It's time for some organized play.
Yeah.
So,
Have fun.
yeah,
I wish I was
definitely.
coming.
Exactly. And Dylan's about to support me to smithereens here, so with his support deck. But folks, regardless of what platform you're listening on, thank you so much for watching and listening to this episode of the Ink Table. We are quick. It sounds weird saying, but we're kind of quickly approaching Reign of Jafar in a sense. It seems like it's out, but it's on the horizon. But as always, feel free to like, subscribe, give us a rating on whatever platform you're listening on. It definitely helps us grow the community, get a few more chairs at the Ink Table, and just provide a welcoming environment, really, for anyone looking for this type of Lorcana content. But you can always email your thoughts or questions to podcast@theinktable.com. I'll have a few of the links inside the description. You can leave us a voicemail, which, again, John surprised me with that one. Don't think we've got any voicemails yet, but I had no idea a platform like that existed. But voiceline.app/theinktable. You can also easily find all of our socials on our Linktree link down below, but you can follow Dylan on Twitter or X, whatever it's called, DylanBA17, I believe, Dylan. I know it's not inside the notes here. And then you can follow me on YouTube at Preston McNair for more Lorcana content, or on Instagram at Preston Quests. Sorry, Rebekah, that was just too good. I had to kind of copy that. I was like, I don't know what else to call it. So I'm more active on YouTube than I am Instagram here. But folks, thank you so much for joining us for another exciting episode of the Ink Table. Again, feel free to subscribe, like, whatever platform you're listening on. Just know that there will always be a spot for you at the Ink Table. So long, folks.
Thanks.
Hi, guys.